Hello friends, my name is Alok Mishra and I once again welcome all of you on my YouTube channel. So today in this video I'll be discussing a few books that will help you understand and study Indian English literature comfortably and sail through the concept that we know as Indian literature in English. So before I discuss books, let me give you some brief idea about the publications hitherto thus far. There are two sets of publications when we talk about the idea of Indian English literature. The first set is by those who are established icons, known authors and well-known critics in Indian English literature. And the thing is that their books or their writings are updated only to the 1980s or 1990s, hardly. And another set of authors are there who have majorly focused on the idea of UGC NET English literature examinations. So their books are updated beyond 1980s, 1990s, and even beyond 2000s. But they hardly give you a concrete idea. They hardly give you some detailed concept. They only focus on objectivity. That means the objective nature of questions. So that will help you maybe with your NET examination preparations, but that will hardly help you with your university examinations or with understanding, in terms of understanding the overall idea in entirety of Indian English literature. So you'll have to mix these two publications together. So if you want to have a concrete idea of Indian English literature and also the readiness to face UGC NET English literature examinations, then what you'll have to do is you'll have to work these two sets of publications together and find yourself some concrete idea by reading the books by the authors who are standard, iconics and well-known names in Indian literature, and also read the books by modern and contemporary authors who are focusing on objective examinations like NET, and they gave you some ready-made idea like major publications, major authors of this decade or this century and that. So you'll have to work these two things together. And I'll be majorly discussing the first set of authors, that is the cult publications, the cult authors who have given the most iconic books in Indian English literature, and those books are recommended by your university syllabuses, by your professors, and also by anyone, a person like myself who has studied these books. So we'll begin discussing the books one by one. Anyone discussing Indian English literature will bring this book up to you. So may the order be changed with this one and M.K. Naik's book, but you will find these two books all the times when someone is discussing Indian English literature. And for me, this one will always be the first, that is Indian Writing in English by K.R. Srinivas, Iyengar. So this is the book for those who are beginning in the world of Indian English literature, and if you want a concrete idea, a wholesome idea, a discussion about the beginnings, the evolution, the development, and then the peak of Indian English literature, then you'll have to go through this book without any other alternatives. So this one might seem a little voluminous, and it should be, because it begins way back with Raja Ram Mohan Rai and it comes up to the time of Keki and Darubala and latest publications by authors like R.K. Narayan and Mulk Rajanan, and then also the poets like Nissim Ezekiel, Jayant Mahapatra, A.K. Mehrotra and all that. So it covers the world of Indian English literature up to 1980s, a glimpse into 1980s, if I may say that. But this one gives you a detailed discussion of the evolution of Indian English literature and how it inherited some of the ideas from the original authors of English, that is the English literature in England, and how it fused those ideas with some native thinking, that is Indianness, as we discussed today. So this one is good for anyone who wants to understand Indian English literature in terms of being prepared for university examinations, for subjective examinations, and also for sometimes like objective examinations, because this will give you the facts, the figures, the dates, and major publications and major names as well. So before you study any other book, do go through this one, that is Indian Writing in English by K.R. Srinivas, Iyengar. This one is best selling, this one is most recommended, and you can easily find it. And it is budget friendly as well. So I don't think this book should be beyond 500 rupees, because when I bought it, it was only 300 rupees. And the next one, naturally after that, should be A History of Indian English Literature by M.K. Naik. So M.K. Naik also is one of the very few iconic figures when it comes to Indian English literature and the studies on Indian English literature. So this one, as you could see, is refined, is curated, and is not that voluminous or not that bulky as K.R. Srinivas Iyengar's book. But this one also gives you authentic information as well as some innovative style of writing is followed by M.K. Naik, whom I admire so much. And this one gives you a brief idea of the wholesome concept of Indian English literature, and this one also covers way back and way forward. That means it begins right with 1857 and a little before that, and it comes up to what you may say like 1990s. So it covers a good ground but briefly, and still this one gives you an idea of the development of Indian English prose, Indian English fiction, Indian English novel, Indian English poetry differently. So you will have the chapters, if I may read it once, you will have chapters like, the first one is The Literary Landscape, the nature and the scope of Indian English literature. The second chapter is The Pagoda Tree, from the beginnings to 1857. So see, the author is beginning way before 1857 and coming up to 1857 in the second chapter. And then the third chapter is The Winds of Change, 1857 to 1920. The fourth chapter is The Gandhian Whirlwind. So we see like Mahatma Gandhi had a great impact on the evolution of Indian English literature, because we find works like Waiting for Mahatma by R.K. Narayan entirely based on the Gandhian philosophy and the Gandhian revolution. And we also have works like The Untouchable, in which we can see an impact of Gandhian philosophy, and many other works by many different authors and poets where we see Gandhi playing a major role directly and indirectly. So this one has a dedicated chapter, that is The Gandhian Whirlwind, 1920 to 1947, that is the Indian independence. And then we also have different chapters like The Short Story, The Ashoka Pillar, Independence and After, and then poetry, fiction, the short story, drama, prose, retrospect and prospect. And then at the end, you will find the selected bibliography. So this one is good only after you have a wholesome idea of Indian English literature. That is, naturally, you'll have to read K.R. Srinivas Iyengar's Indian Writing in English, the first, and second, you can read Indian English literature by M.K. Naik. And when you read these two books, I don't think you'll need to read any other book to get the idea of Indian English literature and its evolution. But if you want, then you can always pick any other book to just concretize your information, to find a solid base on which you stand. And for that, I would suggest one more book. So hold on. So if those two books give you only one kind of information or only one set of interpretation of the Indian English literature and its evolution, then you can always go for this one, A Concise History of Indian Literature in English by A.K. Mehrotra. So in fact, A.K. Mehrotra has written one or two chapters in this book, but this one has papers by many different authors and scholars on different topics or different subjects pertaining to Indian English literature. For example, if I may read a few chapters, the names or the titles of chapters, then in this book you will find Editor's Preface, Introduction by A.K. Mehrotra, undoubtedly, and then the English writings of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, the Hindu College, Henry Thoreau and Michael Madhusudan Dutt, the Dutt Family Album and Toru Dutt, Rudyard Kipling, Two Faces of Prose, Behramji Malabari and Govardhan Tripathi, The Beginnings of the Indian Novel by Meenakshi Mukherjee, and a few more chapters as we come to the end is Sobha Day and Indian Pulp Fiction, Ramanand Chatterjee and the Modern Review, History and Literature, Sir Jadunath Sarkar and Oliver Goldsmith, Anand K. Kumaraswamy, the historian as writer, the polished prose of D.D. Koshambi. So we have different figures covered by different literary scholars, and you'll have different perspectives on the Indian English literature. But this one will be helpful only after you have a concrete idea of the evolution of Indian English literature. And then when we have gone through all these books That should take you about 1 month. If you have time, I would suggest you going through the entire text of these 3 books, or at least the first 2 books, that is the one by K.R. Srinivas Iyengar and then one by M.K. Naik, and then you can pick any modern book by any modern writer that brings you up to the present time. You may go for objective approaches on Indian English literature, or you can go for some curated books that give you the brief biography of different authors, major works by them, major dates associated with them, and the major awards given to them, so that you can have a complete package if you want to face the NET examination or examinations based on objective questions. And also if you want to brush up and polish your information about Indian English literature up to the present time, beyond 1980s or hardly 1990s, that those original 2 books cover. So you have to work with these 2 sets together. The first one that covers the Indian English literature and its evolution in entirety, and the second set of books by contemporary authors who focus on Indian English literature beyond 1980s and 1990s and up to the present time, if they do. So in that section, you can just go on Amazon or any other website and find the best books suitable to you, the best authors and best approaches suitable to you based on the reviews by different readers or different scholars and students who may have read those books. And you can go up to any. I tried finding some, but I could not make up my mind like which one is good because I didn't read them. I use papers and other sources when I have to study literature up to the present time by Indian authors. So this was it for today, in which we discussed major 3 books, or major 2 books I should say, and then one additional, the add-on copy. So to conclude, if you want to study Indian English literature or the history of Indian English literature in its entirety, then the first one that I have suggested is K.R. Srinivas Iyengar's Indian Writing in English. So this is his original book and his original thoughts. You will find him throughout the book, and he has discovered some wonderful concepts, and he has written about the authors who shaped or who contributed to this shape of Indian English literature, and this writing is wonderful. So you cannot miss this one at any cost. And the second that I have suggested is A History of Indian English Literature by M.K. Naik. So this has been published by Sahitya Academy, and you can find this book in about 300 or 350 some rupees. And this one also covers the concept of Indian English literature in its entirety before 1857 up to 1990s hardly. And this one will help you have a good idea of Indian English literature and all the major literary personalities who influenced the concept, the idea of Indian English literature. And then after reading these 2 books, if you want to have some vivid perspectives on different authors and different concepts in Indian English literature, then you can always go for this one, that is a concise history of Indian literature in English. And this one is edited by A.K. Mehrotra, and many authors or many scholars have contributed many papers on many different literary personalities and many different concepts. There are some comparisons as well. So this one will give you a vivid idea of Indian English literature and its evolution in terms of many different perspectives. So that will help you prepare your notions about Indian English literature. And then for the letter section, you can go on Amazon and find any book that you like, maybe the objective question sets, or maybe some sets. I have also seen some books that give you brief introduction to the authors and then their major contributions, different dates and different awards, etc. So those books will help you get concrete idea, get an up-to-date idea of what is happening in English literature, and also prepare you for the NET examinations and all that. So this was it for today, friends, and I'll be back with some more videos, some more concepts, and some more talks and discussions that we have been having for about 10 days or say a week and a half. I hope to continue this way, and if you want to communicate anything, or if you want me to cover something, then you could always write in the comment sections, and you can also give me some feedbacks on the videos that I have been doing these days, so that I can understand what you like, what you want, and where do I need to improve. So thank you for being with me for this much time today, and then we'll be back with more videos very soon. All the best, have a good time. Thanks again.